Welcome everyone to Be Well with Dr. Michelle Greenwell, and today we're doing the Healing Through Spirituality three-part exploration into the deep layers of what makes us whole, resilient, and connected. And I'm so excited to bring you on this journey. It's a spiritual architecture of being human. It's about our wiring, our inner guidance, and the energetic intelligence that shapes every experience that we have. And this series emerges from a collaboration that I've been doing with my dear colleague, Ann Smets. And Ann, thank you so much for coming to share in this conversation.
It's a great pleasure. Thank you for having me, Michelle.
Together, we're going to invite you to look beyond the typical pillars of wellness. Usually we're looking at physical, nutritional, mental, and emotional, sometimes chemical as well. And we're going to step into the dimension that holds the deepest truth for us of who we are, and that's our spiritual field. And we understand when we can understand this part of ourselves, everything else begins to make more sense. So let's dive in a little bit to who is Ann, so you know who we're talking to and the expertise that she brings to this conversation. Ann is the owner of SoulTEA. Let me say that again. Ann owns SoulTEA. There we go. I'm not sure where that other word came from. And Ann is a spiritual mentor, an intuitive visionary, and she holds a sacred space crafted for those who are ready to awaken their truth and their soul's purpose and path. And she has a unique gift because she goes deeper into the layers of the person, helping them reconnect to parts of themselves that they might have forgotten, maybe they abandoned, maybe they just tried to avoid, or they don't know how to trust. And through her company, Ann offers transformational experiences that guide people back to their authentic essence. So I just want to share a little bit of some of these because as you're thinking about spirituality and what does that mean to you, and it's always been an elusive topic, here's some of the ways that Ann has brought around packaging of her skills so that you have an opportunity to really dive into this aspect of yourself. So she has her temple school, which is about the remembering. It's a 6-week sacred immersion into soul remembrance, Taoist wisdom, energy work, and embodiment. And it's a living column of light supporting your spiritual evolution in accelerated times. Each week she includes live gatherings, rituals, inner temple practices, multi-dimensional activation, and a deep recalibration of the soul field. So this is giving you an opportunity to return to your inner radiance. She also has a 21-day transformational journey that you can do, which is called From the Caterpillar to the Butterfly. So a 21-day program about craving energy, ease, and getting renewal. Each day she offers a simple soul-aligned insight, a body, mind, soul connection practice, and a 1-minute daily hack to shift your energy instantly. This program is ideal if you're overwhelmed, exhausted, longing for inspiration and vitality, and it gently guides participants back into alignment, empowerment, and joy, moving one day at a time, with 21 days being the opportunity to think of a new habit and to be able to hold on to it. Her private sessions and her light body work allow you an opportunity to work one-on-one and just bring that soul connection forward. She can do energetic recalibration, emotional integration, spiritual remembrance, intuitive activations, and soul path clarity. There's a lot packed into this, and Ann has been looking forward to 2026. And do you want to share what's on the horizon for Soul Journeys for 2026?
Yes, thank you, Michelle. So exciting, isn't it? I have, I'm expanding my services a little bit as I evolve myself and as I work closely with my clients. I got to discover that for some people, the energy work, especially because it's remote, is a bit too far off, or they're hesitant to take that first step. So or people who are already in program with me, I noticed that when we look into some astrological aspects of their soul, it brings the picture and the program nicely together. So with my background of the studies in universal healing Tao, traditional Chinese medicine, that's where it all started for me. I will offer as from January an Chinese astrology report, which is called the Four Pillars Bazi report. It's not just about what's your Chinese astrology sign and what has the year ahead in store for you. No, we go a lot deeper, and we're going to analyze all your elements and your soul essence, because it's not just the year that you were born, but also the month, but especially the day is what interests me, is an indication of your true essence, your soul. Who am I? And it makes a lot of sense. And then we look at the elements. So which are the five elements which are in traditional Chinese medicine: the fire, metal, earth, wood, and water, and how are they developed at your birth. And of course, those elements relate to your organs as well. So it gives us a really clear understanding also on your physical health path. Where do I need to pay attention to in order to create balance? What of the elements, which organs are weaker? Because that can be done expressing some physical discomforts that keep coming back, and or emotional. So it's fascinating way to really get to know you from the inside out. And then also looking even a bit more deeper into the universe is the reading of the Chiron wound. Our Chiron wound is an aspect of, I would say, our shadow side. So this is also calculated on the position of the planetoid Chiron at your moment of birth. And this is always an indication of where is my shadow side, where is something, like I would always say, you take one step forward, three steps back in life, and it keeps on repeating. And how it comes, that is really where we then put the spotlight on. And by doing so, we can then finally start working together and turning that into your medicine. What can you bring to the world as opposed to what's holding you back the whole time? So it's really exciting. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to share that.
Thank you for bringing the picture of that forward. Because again, when you're thinking spirituality, I know a lot of people will go to religion and their religious practices and the things that they do in that capacity, but spirituality isn't about that. And so this, just by for my audience, usually I don't go through all of the offerings that a client that a person has to offer to their clients. But in this case, because it seems like such elusive conversation, languaging, how do you wrap yourself around that spirituality and how do you heal with it? This is a great way for people to realize how it weaves in and out of the day and your approach to finding the right tools for each of those kinds of situations. So thank you, Anne, for all that you're thinking about and bringing forward for 2026 to package up something that I think is just so desperately missing from the healing work that people are trying to do and their daily self-care practice. So, yeah. Okay, before we dive deeper into the conversation, we have not brought the tea on yet, and we want to make sure that there's a healing session here for everybody that's listening. So, what tea have you packed today for this conversation?
For me, I'm having water because I
Perfect.
have no access to your wonderful tea. But what I always do daily is bless my water. So it's another way of sharing intentions. So my water is blessed today with the frequency of pure love and the 0 point of stillness and pure love, which I want to share with the audience today.
So for those that are listening, Anne took her glass of water and she was hugging it. And I would invite you that if you don't have a tea beside you or a beverage that you've been drinking, that maybe you can get a glass of water so that you also can infuse the water and take advantage of the pure love that Anne's offering as a frequency. You can just put your hands around your water and let it be infused as well. And this is such an easy tool for bringing the frequency into the body and transforming instantly any part of your day. So thank you, Anne, for that piece. And I'm going to bring to you the SoulTEA Harbour tea, which comes from the Harmony Blend series. This is about coming home to the heart. And as we bring this conversation in, I thought we could do a little tea ritual around this one. So a little bit different than I usually do in the podcast, but so far I started out different too. So let's settle our mind, soften our breath, and then find your heart. So it's be kind of like a little bit of a meditation. So as you're listening, just if you can find a space to just be comfortable, then that's great. If you're driving a car while you're listening to this podcast, just take a nice deep breath and stay focused on the road, but know that we're providing the space for you to increase that frequency. So today's tea is SoulTEA Harbour. It's a blend created with the intention of guiding you home to yourself. And this tea is an invitation to pause, to anchor, and listen. Two of the key herbs that we're going to focus on hold deep spiritual significance, and this is licorice root and anise. Licorice root is known as the harmonizer. It reminds us that softness is our strength. It brings balance to the systems of the body and the subtle energy fields, helping us to release rigidity, and it welcomes compassion. Anise acts as the seer. It clears the fog from the intuitive pathways, helps us to see beyond the noise of daily life and into the soul's wisdom. So if we put these two herbs together, as they're packaged in this tea, licorice is going to ground you in the heart, while anise will open you to inner vision. One will root, the other will expand. One comforts, and the other awakens. And the affirmation carried in this tea is, balance and flow is possible when we open to be present for our true heart's desires. Come home to your heart. So take a breath. If you have something that you can smell, bring in that. That goes into the limbic system, which is awakening all of our senses. It joins up with our motor system, which helps us to change the way we react and the softness that we can bring in. And as you take a sip, let this be your arrival. Oh, I love the ingredients in this blend. Okay. I'll pass that forward to you since you don't have that.
Great.
One day there'll just be a big package that's going to arrive for you.
I can't wait to try your teas.
Okay. So we wanted to talk about spirituality as not being something woo-woo, because that's where a lot of people will go. Oh, here goes that talk. But we're going to look at it from the perspective of wiring today. And we want to explore a foundational truth, which is spirituality isn't an optional belief. It's the operating system of our human experience. So it is there, whether you believe in looking at spirituality or not, it's just existing. And you can shine a light on it and illuminate it and learn more, or you can ignore it and it will continue to do what it's going to do, and which could support or not support, depending on the choices that you're making and how you're thinking about things. So we're electromagnetic beings. Our emotions, intuitions, sensations, and inspirations are not random. They're communications from our energetic fields. And spirituality isn't something that's outside of us. As Anne has already said, it is who we are. And the modern life will pull us away from this as we get overridden with signals. We numb our intuition. We are busy trying to avoid listening to our soul's calling. And then when we wonder why, we feel lost, anxious, maybe depleted, or out of alignment. And when we reconnect with our spiritual nature, everything begins to shift. Confusion can become clarity, chaos becomes presence, resistance moves over to flow, doubt becomes self-trust, and fear becomes grounded in awareness. So this is the doorway that we're going to walk through today. And Anne is going to be able to share her story of awakening and a personal shift, and then how she began to understand that spirituality was the essential to our well-being. Anne, thank you for bringing this to the conversation.
Well, thank you, Michelle, for opening up the conversation. I'm so delighted because far too often the word already spirituality is a bit ridiculed or people don't have a message with. So it's great that we can talk about it in a down-to-earth way. So make it accessible for everybody to what I call remember, because like you mentioned already, it's in all of us, it's in our cells, and just hearing the conversation will awaken that remembrance, I'm sure.
Perfect. Can you share a little bit, how did you get to working in this field?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Because I wasn't, I mean, I was born what's normal, hey? A normal family. My parents were actually both self-employed tailors, so I didn't really get any education, so to speak, from that. But we go through life. I must admit, I love my parents dearly because what they did offer me throughout my whole life was respect and freedom of choice to become who I am. And I think that was a massive gift. Now, a big trigger happened about 25 years ago. That's what I would say. That's that push. We all get that push in life where something starts to awaken on a deeper level. And that happened, unfortunately, well, it was through loss. So looking at it now, sometimes grief has a strange way of becoming a way shower. But it was just then when I lost my first love, my first boyfriend, where obviously you go through this stages of grief. But then all of a sudden it shifted and I started feeling energy, not just as the emotion, but more as a living intelligence. It was twofold. It was one way because one of my school teachers actually he handed me a book about life after death, which he had not long ago went through because he had lost his wife. And we started talking, and it was immediately a homecoming. Like, of course, I know all this. And then soon after, I had my first out of body experience during sleep, where my boyfriend basically in spirit came to visit me. And I really felt myself levitating, my soul, spirit out of my body. And we basically met underneath my bed, out of all places. We had a good chat, and yeah, he confirmed that he will always be by my side, but from just another behind the veil, how I would say. And yeah, from there I started to evolve more and awaken more. Of course, I was 21, so I had to go through my crazy part of life. So shut down a bit, get over the sadness, and start enjoying life with party and what have you. And then around my age of 31, I went to India. And I went into the ashram of Shivananda to do a yoga teacher training course. But it was much more than that. It was the yogic lifestyle from early morning chanting to service, which is just yeah, free service of the community. So the whole lifestyle, the whole yogic lifestyle, and by doing that, I've came home. I also Southeast Asia. I then started to travel to northern Thailand, where I started to do my Taoist studies. And that was really a homecoming. And not long ago, actually, I was able to travel back in time and meet my primal mother, so my lineage. And one of the primal mother lineage is from the Taoist lineage. So that now it makes sense why all these studies, sometimes when you read a book and you could give a lecture afterwards because you just know, right? That now all makes sense. And that's kind of how, how my path evolved, basically.
Wow. You're saying that, and I'm thinking about my own Tai Chi practice, and
Yeah.
um, it hasn't been a straight road. I did Tai Chi, I walked away, I came back, then I walked away for over a year, then I came back, and then I came back with such a vengeance, and it's led the way that I transformed everything. So as you're saying, who were the guides before, who brought this all in? It's interesting to think about um, as people are listening, these ideas that might pop into your head where you go, yeah, I was doing that in and out, and or that is a topic where I have a lot of knowledge and I don't know how I know it, or you say it definitively even though you have no idea because you've never looked at it, but somehow you know how to say it with integrity, I guess is
Yeah.
the way. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, also for you, Michelle, you have even your parents doing Tai Chi, so it's not far from the bed, I would say. And now reflecting back, my dad, when he was in his 40s, 50s, he did yoga. He had lots of old yoga books he gave me a couple of years ago. So yeah, it's there, but sometimes with people it kind of get lost or forgotten, or life takes you on a different path. But it's these little nuggets, these nudges that can be very meaningful to get back on track and to really get on your soul's alignment.
Mm-hmm. Wow. All right. If we were to dive into what spirituality means to you and then what it might mean to other people, can you shed a little bit of light on that?
Yeah, to me, it's not something that we learn or read in books, but for me, it's more an awareness, a conscious awareness of the interconnectedness of all things. That's how I see it. Like you mentioned, we're electromagnetic beings, human beings, but we live on an electromagnetic planet, Earth, into an electromagnetic universe. So when we start to see or sense the connectedness of our breath with the stars, with the trees, maybe more easy to recognize with your pet, your cat or your dog, um, then everything starts to shift. So that's for me what spirituality is. It's conscious awareness of the interconnectedness of all. Um, Conscious is also very important because if we look back a little bit more scientifically backed as well, studies show that 95% of humans' waking hours we live in our subconscious state of being. And that subconscious mind, that's the area where we've got all the old programs. It's like an outdated software program that's never been updated, because we get all these old beliefs already bringing on from past lives a lot, but we can pick them up from our parents, our school teachers, our government. There's so much emotion of fear hammered into us now, limiting beliefs like you've got to work hard for your money, things like that. Those are old programs, and we just take that for granted because that's 95% of how we would operate without knowing, as is no blame. But when we start to become aware of that and consciously say, hang on a minute, this is not how I operate, this is not who I am, and then you start to be able to open up that field and be guided by nature, by what you see in your pet, learn from your partner or parents, maybe become to see them as maybe your teachers, your peers, but out of a state of pure love. And that to me, it's a whole lifestyle, a concept of awareness. That is how I would say, that's how I look at spirituality.
Um, as you were describing that yesterday when I was doing Tai Chi, one thing about Tai Chi is I do have the 108 moves, and a lot of people say, oh, it's too much to remember. I just want to do a short form, thinking of it like an exercise. But when you do that form, you get into the movement pattern, the body recognizes it, and everything can let go because all you're doing is moving through that pattern. You know where you're going next. The muscle memory is there. And then that's when the clarity of mind happens. So, like you're talking about, if you go out in nature and that same idea, and you're talking to the trees or feeling your feet on the ground, and then all of a sudden, the answer to things that you were trying to figure out, it's just there.
Yeah.
And it has no effort to it. And you weren't even really thinking about a solution or anything, but all of a sudden, those things come together. And yesterday it was just such a profound piece because I turned around to go a different direction and it was like, you need to do this. I was like, oh, I never thought about that. And then I just continued to move, not really giving it much more thought. And then a second thought arrived. And I just wanted to bring that idea out to people because some of the ritual practices that happen in spiritual aspects, like going for a walk in nature, the body recognizes it from that subconscious piece and then pulls it out. And yesterday it just was so right there for me in awareness that I just wanted to share that. So thank you for opening up the conversation of the ways we can connect and bringing in our pets as well, because
Yeah.
I don't think people realize so much the impact spiritually of that connection.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't mean to take over so much conversation on that, but
I know, it's great.
you
It's
inspired
great to
that piece of me.
share. Yeah, great.
Um, okay, so we have spirituality, but can you share with us when you realized the necessity of spirituality for the healing component?
Yeah, because that's very often where it starts, right? Yeah, the way we look at it, and how I work as a multi-dimensional conduit and guide for people to heal. Very often it starts with the physical because we're much more than what we can see with the naked eye. We're not just that, how I call it, our body suit, what we got here to play with while we're on Earth, but we have the different layers. So we've got also, so we've got the physical, emotional, mental, spiritual and karmic layer of our being. But we zoom in and very often it start with physical triggers, pains, aches, or what have you. And that's how it started also with me when I really started to transform. That was for many years I had these debilitating migraines. And initially I thought it would be hormonal, so I didn't give much thought of it. And the migraine came, you take a painkiller if it's too bad, and you carry on. And then also I got once some blood tests done and with my naturopath, and I had a thyroid imbalance. So the thyroid was functioning too low, hypothyroid, you call it in English.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had the conversation, and this lady was really already quite much more into natural healing as a general GP. But then she said, okay, for this thyroid, you're going to have to take this medicine that I have. And I was like, well, and for how long then? And then she said, oh, that'll be for life. And that answer that just made the click in my head, like, this cannot be right. When I walked out of the office, I said, there gotta be another way. I'm not gonna take medicine for life. That was kind of my inner voice that came through. And I started to delve deeper into something that I was using already for several years and still do rigidly daily. It's essential oils, aromatherapy, because I'm also a licensed aromatherapist. And I just knew that aromatherapy, because it's the essence of a plant. So it's basically what you have in your bottle is like the immune system of a plant. So I'm like, this is what I'm gonna try. And I had a few nice blends from a very good brand, an organic brand that I started using. And surely enough, a year later, I was back, the thyroid was back to balance. So that was the first, yes, this is how we do it. As for the migraine, it was a bit more complex than that. I had to go through the whole journey until then the point of a burnout. And this was because it was in times where my mind was still, the monkey mind was the boss and was saying, you know what, you still need a good job with security and safety financially with the regular income as opposed to just do your woohoo work, right? Because I didn't get much support from my environment. So that's what I did, but I just burnt myself out. I crashed. And the migraines became worse and worse. Each time I sat at the desk, this was an office job, and it was just, I couldn't move anymore. So that was one day I said, that's it, I stopped. This was my soul really now talking to me like, Anne, stop, that is not you. And I listened finally, thankfully, thanks to a very supporting husband who supported me in the decision to quit a job security and a regular income to start tapping into our saving money to be able to follow my soul's journey. So it obviously has sometimes risks involved and brave decisions to make and to be surrounded by the right people. But these are all conscious choices that you make in order to then, yeah, find your balance, your coherence, and yeah, it's only gone better and better since then.
And you said something really important, which was, um, the physicality, what we listen to. So, are we going to listen to the physical symptom and then dull it by adding a medicine that's going to take the symptom away but not solve the problem?
Yeah.
Or are you going to be willing to look at the problem and then see how the symptom can be erased or lessened? And so many people, they like to blame someone else. It's their fault that all of this is like this, or they want to ignore it because they don't actually want to admit it's their fault.
Yeah.
It's our own habits and our own personal, the way we do things that has got us to that spot.
Yeah.
And sometimes our viewpoint, because if you might be at a desk job that doesn't suit you, but it might be the only choice at this point. But how you look at that opportunity and what you do with it, it can just be so empowering. But we definitely have to have a different lens that we're looking with.
Yeah, exactly. It's finding the balance, right? Because I obviously not everybody can just change their situation in a day or two, but it's becoming aware of where is this trigger and how can I start balancing it. And often you can't do that alone. I was also supported by colleagues, energy work and what have you, and still am. I mean, our awakening process is an ongoing project trajectory as long as we're on planet Earth. And there's so exciting times these days. That would be another topic of what's all happening interstellar and in the universe and all that. But we are in such amazing times of an awakening process of humanity again, in evolution also with the awakened Earth. So it's something that goes take micro steps in order to get to that trigger and start bringing that imbalance gently but surely. We got all the time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So if we move from that topic into that inner guidance, what do you think causes people to disconnect from that? So as we're just coming to a place where a lot of things are moving faster than the speed of light, and the awakenings are happening, how is it that some people still, that block is sitting in there?
Yeah, it's coming back a little bit of what we said earlier. It's really functioning on that subconscious autopilot, um, or not even having the awareness that everything is interconnected, and that brings you to the fact that you don't really hear your intuition. Little voice is always the conditioning that you hear, because that's what you hear time after time after time. So eventually you get to a state of almost, I would call it survival mode, and that's really a mechanism that's happening a lot. The alarm clock goes off, you jump out of bed, you you drink your cup of coffee, you drive to you sit into traffic, you go to work. It's survival mode, and obviously this is not good for our central nervous system, because we are constantly in that fight flight state of being, where our intuition has no chance to be heard. So yeah, it's just it tries to whisper through, but we just don't hear it. So if we already take that first step, like, okay, I want to get out of my rat race life, what can I do to change that? That's an amazing, that's already a winning by itself. And then find the right people that can support you along your journey. Yeah, that's how I experience it.
I was just thinking about something I said that has to do with the tea, and it's that sense of smell bypasses the nervous system and goes into that limbic system, so the area you're talking about, and awakens all the senses. So the practice of, my son would say coffee, but that practice of taking the time to be present with that first action in the morning. What do you smell? And maybe you go over to a plant that you have or flowers that are blooming, um, or you step outside and you smell nature. But that awareness of that sense of smell to move into that limbic system, connect to the motor system, which then is, do I really need to fight and run? Or can I just relax and just be present? And setting up that practice. And it doesn't seem like it's much when I'm introducing tea. It's like, oh, yes, smell the tea and then sip it. But there is a whole piece in there that is a spiritual piece.
Yeah, absolutely. And a great example that doesn't have to be complicated. It's these little rituals, and if you don't like to drink tea or coffee, if it's just water, you can charge your water. If you live in a busy city and have no nature nearby, use aromatherapy, use essential oils. We have them on constantly, because indeed it immediately goes into the limbic system. It's also so connected with memory and feel good motion, etc. I think a lot more offices will need to use aromatherapy and have their meetings outdoors. But yeah, that's another discussion, maybe.
That's a whole other discussion, a
Yeah.
good one.
But yes, absolutely, you are right.
Okay, to stay in the conversation we know we want to have today, um, can you tell me a little bit about what signs people might notice if they're feeling spiritually dehydrated?
Yeah, again, it starts with little signals, and if you would compare it with Wi-Fi, for instance, it's an interrupted Wi-Fi signal. It's not the full blast that we're expecting these days, but you start to feel maybe a bit flat, uninspired. Yeah, you need to come up with a new project, but inspiration doesn't happen. You might feel that you can't stop the mind thinking. Overthinking is a very common sign of dehydration. Literally, also when our brain needs a lot of hydration, by the way. And another one that I notice a lot, more and more, is that you would be start looking for validation outside yourself, validation or entertainment, or inspiration, but always outside yourself. So instead of going inside, and the fact of doing that, always bringing that energy outside yourself, it's gonna end up with chronic fatigue, or you're just gonna be emotionally flat. So yeah, that's what I feel is signs of, yeah, that disconnectedness. And then you feel like, where's my purpose? You kind of lost track along the way. You don't see anymore the trees in the wood, or how you you say that in English. Yeah, that's how those little signs you can pick up. They say, yeah, this might be something to look into.
And most people would then go, I need more vitamins.
Yeah,
I need to eat better. I need more greens. Like they'll immediately move over to nutrition.
yeah,
And you could spiritually connect with that nutrition by being more observant of the aliveness of the vegetables and the smell that comes from them, the taste. So you can wrap spirituality around it. But it's interesting how we try to solve that problem with what we know, which
yeah.
is that rhetoric that we've been given about, our nutritional piece is what keeps us healthy, and then exercise and get plenty of rest, those kinds of things.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that's your last part that's often missing, is your spiritual responsibility, because I feel that here on earth we need all the aspects, and I often notice that especially nutrition and movement are parts that can come in to integrate the shifts that we're doing, especially as we then shift our own frequency and our awareness. We need to then also have a body that can hold it, that can be integrated. That's why I always like to look at both sides initially, because then obviously as we evolve as beings onto a higher and higher state of consciousness, until we find that 0 point balance within ourselves, then you can actually create the miracle of heal yourself instantly, and you don't need food even. I mean, there's enough teachers who have, I follow one of the great teachers, Dr. Roy Martina. He's been on living from the frequencies, the air, for months, and he's living proof. I mean, he's alive and kicking at age 75, only getting better. So, but that's obviously something not to just start trying tomorrow when you're off for the weekend out of the office, but just to show that those are the steps of evolution that we take, yeah, and that are possible.
And that's possible. And that's something that it's not part of our everyday. So as we're thinking about how might spirituality play a bigger role in our lives, remembering that we've been trained to not pay attention to that. And so our answers that we fill in with our mind are coming from a place of how we've been educated. And so that education has to shift around. Yeah. You said some really great pieces there. So I hope as people are listening, sometimes for me, auditory, as I'm listening, it's kind of like I wander off with a thought to go back and then pick up again, because there were some really key pieces of what you said there that I'd love for people to really snatch onto and hold on as they're thinking about how their day can be led from a spiritual aspect instead of from a busyness aspect. I guess that's the way we've been taught, for lack of better words.
Yeah.
Let's move over to grounding. and how grounding can help us to connect to our inner truth and find coherence.
I think it's one of the easiest way to get our electrons reset, the electrons of the earth. Actually, it's interesting. I didn't mention that, but there's also science shown that the trace minerals that we find back in nature, but also in the universe, are to be found within our own cells as well. So it's a constant communication. So grounding immediately connects our electrons with the Earth's electrons, and the magnetic field instantly brings our nervous system to a calm up state of mind. And that's already one way to come back into that heart coherence, that pace of rest and calmness. Yeah, one of my clients, she says, and the only thing I need to do when I'm a bit getting emotionally overwhelmed is go for a walk for a half hour, and it immediately resets us. So it's very important for me. I get my inspiration instantly when I'm out in the woods, not from sitting behind the desk. So it's just the intuition that kicks back in immediately, and that's so wonderful. So grounding is very important so that we stay balanced, that we're not going to start wander off too much, because maybe sometimes people who have a very developed open crown chakra, pineal gland, and have easy access to universal frequencies, messages, what comes in. But then it's also important to keep ourselves grounded so that we can integrate that we can digest it, and that because after all, we're still here in a 3D shifting into 5D reality, but it has to become something that we can work balanced with whilst we're here.
You said something interesting there, and I understand grounding. I work with grounding, but I hadn't actually thought about the copper, the manganese, the magnesium inside of us connecting to the earth, and it's like it's going back to its source.
Yeah.
And I hadn't thought of it in those terms, because usually it's just I need more magnesium because I have a leg cramp, instead of thinking about that disconnect to the earth. And if I was able to bring that connection in, how those, just by bringing awareness to those elements, how quickly they go, thank you for, shedding a light on me. I'm going to light up now. And usually it's like forgotten, just kind of
Yeah.
falls away.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the simplest way also to reconnect is barefoot walking. Walk barefoot if you can, if you have a garden or not. If you go walk in the woods at the weekend, take off your shoes for a bit, start walking barefoot. It's an instant reset. It was amazing. I'll just quickly mention, I had this experience last summer. I was invited to go work in the Maldives, a place that I had never been. But what was amazing is that it was Six Senses resorts, and their philosophy is barefoot philosophy. So all guests who arrive at the resort on the speedboat to the hotel, they get a little bag and they're invited to put their shoes in. And so for 6 weeks, I was walking barefoot along the whole atoll, basically. It shifted me from the inside out. Wow. Only then did I feel how stagnant I was inside, even though I'm already aware with what I do and practice every day. So, yeah, it was a really good experience.
Interesting. And people think, when they go outside, they're barefoot, but they put their sandal on. And
Yeah,
if they're
no,
wearing a flip flop, it's rubber. So you're
yeah,
standing on top of rubber, which is isolating you from the ground.
yeah.
So that's not the same as getting the feet in there. And we don't have grass here. It's herbs. Our whole yard is just herbs. And when I put my feet into the grass, it's just, the
Amazing.
herbs
Yeah,
are all coming up, and meeting me, I guess is the
Yeah,
best way to say that.
amazing.
And I think about those people who live in the city. I know when I visited New York once, um, unless you went to Central Park, you were on cement or rubber constantly. So there was never a way, and you wouldn't go barefoot. So there was never a way to be connected. And my girlfriend that lives in New York, her whole apartment has like so many plants in every window and seashells and rocks and she had a hermit crab that lived in the apartment, but that was her way of bringing nature in where
Yeah.
she couldn't access. And so I'm saying that out loud for people listening as you think about I spend a lot of time in my house. I'm on carpeted floors, linoleum. It might be tile, um, but tile that's been made rather than something that's right from the ground. Um, in what way are you connecting to nature? In what way do you get to interact with it? And if you're sitting at your desk, where is nature at your desk? Might be a plant, but might be nothing at all. And then how do we bring that in? Um, yeah, really interesting. Okay, I know you and I could keep going,
Yeah.
but do you want to just share a little bit about what people can expect as they listen to the next parts of this trilogy?
Oh, well, it'll be an exciting continuation, and I hope that people will start to understand a little bit more that spirituality is not something out there, but it's just a down to earth reality of who we are. And by listening more to tips that we will share, tools that we will share for daily life, the awareness that basically healing is possible for everyone on whatever aspect of the healing needs to be done, whether it's physical, mental, emotional. It's possible for everyone because everyone has that bright light within us. It's that part, we are a fraction of source. We all carry that source light within us, and that I'm sure throughout the series we will unveil and rediscover.
Perfect. And I like to finish on that idea that it's already within, because as we talked about those patterns that are stagnant, that are also there, there's also this light within. So where are you listening and which is holding you in the place that you are? So thank you for saying it that way. I'm just going to give us a few things to think about
Yeah.
before we leave this episode. So if you place your hand over your heart, ask yourself these questions. Where am I not listening to my inner knowing? What part of me has been asking for attention or rest? Where does my body feel tight, closed, or guarded? And what desire have I been ignoring or postponing? So the answers will come gently as you go about your day. There's no pressure, no judgment. You just be aware and open to the answers that come your way. And then if you'll write down one small shift you can make this week to reconnect with yourself. It might be through breath work, stillness. We talked about walking in nature or bringing nature to you, or simply choosing to pause before you take an action. And then this will be the first step in returning you to your spiritual wiring, which prepares you perfectly for episode 2, where we're going to explore that energy body, the hidden architecture of our inner world. All right, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Michelle.
And
Pleasure.
sharing. It's always lovely. And as you go forward, everyone, remember that balance and flow is possible when we're open to be present for our true heart's desire. Come home to your heart. So that's the message from the SoulTEA Harbour tea. We look forward to sharing with you in episode 2 to eliminate the energetic pathways that are going to shape your mind, your emotions, and your life experiences. And until then, we encourage you to be gentle, be curious, and as you start to discover yourself, be comfortable with coming home. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.